The Ku Klux Klan, commonly called the KKK, was founded on December 24, 1865, in Pulaski, Tennessee, by 6 former Confederate soldiers. Its main goal was to restore white dominance in the southern United States after the Civil War. The group targeted black people who had been freed from slavery, as well as white allies who supported civil rights and Reconstruction efforts. The Klan used terror to achieve its aims, including lynching, beatings, arson, and intimidation campaigns. These attacks were carried out mainly at night, often with members wearing hoods and masks to hide their identities. The KKK went through several periods of activity. In the early 20th century, it re-emerged with a broader agenda that included anti-immigrant, anti-Catholic, and anti-Jewish ideologies. Membership surged in the 1920s, reaching over 4 million at its peak. During the civil rights era of the 1950s and 60s, the Klan carried out bombings, shootings, and other acts of terror to resist the growing movement for racial equality. Tens of thousands of black Americans were victimized by the Klan's violence during Reconstruction. In later decades, dozens more were killed in racially motivated attacks. Today, the KKK has far fewer members, estimated in the low thousands, but it remains a symbol of domestic terror and racial hatred. The Irish Republican Army, or IRA, started in 1919, growing out of the Irish Volunteers, who had fought for independence from Britain. Its main goal was to end British rule in Ireland and establish a united Irish Republic. Over time, the group split into factions, with the most famous being the Provisional IRA, which emerged in 1969 and continued armed campaigns for decades. The IRA carried out numerous attacks, primarily in Northern Ireland and England. One of the most notorious incidents was Bloody Friday in 1972, when 22 bombs exploded in Belfast within a few hours, killing 9 people and injuring over 130. In 1974, the Birmingham pub bombings killed 21 civilians and injured 182 more. The IRA used tactics such as bombing, shootings, and assassinations to target British forces and those seen as supporting British control. Between 1969 and 1994, the IRA killed approximately 1,800 people, including more than 600 civilians. Its activities created widespread fear and disruption, forcing both civilians and government forces to live under constant threat. The IRA also engaged in political negotiations, culminating in ceasefires and agreements that eventually led to the group ending its armed campaign in 2005. Irgun, also called Etzel, was formed in 1931 in British Mandate Palestine. It was a militant Zionist organization committed to establishing a Jewish state and resisting British control, as well as opposing local Arab opposition. Irgun was known for its bold, often brutal operations during the 1930s and 40s. One of its most infamous attacks was the bombing of the King David Hotel in Jerusalem in 1946, which killed 91 people, including Arabs, British personnel, and Jews. In 1948, Irgun participated in the Deir Yassin massacre, killing around 100 villagers. The group also carried out numerous other bombings, assassinations, and raids against British and Arab targets. Menachem Begin, a key leader of Irgun, later became Israel's prime minister. After the founding of Israel in 1948, Irgun disbanded, and many members joined the Israel Defense Forces or entered politics. The organization played a major role in shaping the modern state of Israel. The Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, was officially founded in 1978 by Abdullah Öcalan in southeastern Turkey. Initially Marxist-Leninist in ideology, the PKK sought an independent Kurdish state, but later shifted to seeking greater autonomy within Turkey. In 1984, the PKK launched an armed insurgency using guerrilla attacks, bombings, and kidnappings. The conflict with Turkish forces caused more than 30,000 deaths, including thousands of civilians. The group operated mainly in southeastern Turkey, but also had influence in neighboring Iraq and Syria. The PKK's campaign drew international attention, and it was designated a terror organization by Turkey, the United States, NATO, and the European Union. Despite ongoing conflict, in 2025 the PKK declared a ceasefire, disarmed, and announced plans to disband. The Shining Path was created in the 1970s by Abimael Guzman, a university professor who followed a strict version of Maoist communism. He believed that Peru needed a full revolution that would replace the government with a new system based on his own ideas. At first, the group worked quietly in rural regions, but as time passed, it turned into a movement that used fear and violence to gain control. During the 1980s, the conflict reached its most intense stage. Shining Path began attacking villages, government offices, and public spaces. One of the most painful events of this period was the Lucana Market massacre in 1983, where villagers were killed in an attempt to frighten communities and force them to accept the group's authority. In Peru's capital, Lima, Shining Path carried out bombings, including the well-known Tarata streetcar bomb in 1992 that killed many people and injured dozens more. These attacks caused entire regions to live in fear. Families fled their homes, farms were abandoned, and the economy suffered heavy losses. It is estimated that tens of thousands of people died during the long conflict. Many victims were farmers and villagers who simply lived in areas contested by the rebels and government forces. The violence destroyed trust within communities and left emotional wounds that lasted for generations. A major turning point came in 1992 when Peruvian forces captured Guzman. Without its main leader, Shining Path began to weaken. The group broke into smaller factions, and over time most of its structure collapsed. A few scattered fighters continued to operate in remote jungle regions, sometimes working with drug trafficking networks, but the organization never returned to its former size or power. Hezbollah formed in 1982 during a complex and violent period in Lebanon's history. At that time, Lebanon was struggling with the civil war and foreign military interventions. Several Shia groups came together with support from Iran to create a new movement that would promise protection, political identity, and resistance against Israel. Over the years, Hezbollah grew from a small militia into one of the most powerful political and military organizations in the Middle East. In its early years, Hezbollah became known because of a series of major attacks. One of the most significant events took place in 1983 when bombers attacked the United States Marine barracks and the French military headquarters in Beirut. These bombings killed hundreds of service members and shocked the world. The group was also tied to bombings in Argentina in the 1990s, including the 1994 attacks on a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires that killed many people and injured others. Hezbollah does not operate only as an armed group. It also built a large network of clinics, schools, charities, and political offices that serve many Lebanese citizens. Because of this mixture of public services, political influence, and armed power, Hezbollah became deeply rooted in Lebanese society. The group received strong financial and military support from Iran, which helps it maintain a large supply of rockets, trained fighters, and intelligence resources. One of the most intense periods involving Hezbollah happened in 2006 during a war with Israel. After a cross-border raid by Hezbollah fighters, Israel launched a major military campaign. The conflict lasted several weeks and caused heavy damage across Lebanon. Thousands of buildings were destroyed, many civilians died, and hundreds of thousands were displaced. Today, Hezbollah remains a key player in Lebanon and the wider region. Many countries classify the group as a terror organization because of its violent history and its use of attacks that target civilians. The Tamil Tigers, officially known as the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, began in 1976. Their founder believed that Sri Lanka's Tamil minority needed an independent homeland called Tamil Eelam. Years of ethnic tension and violence had created deep mistrust, and many Tamils felt excluded from political and social life. The Tamil Tigers became the most powerful movement fighting for that cause. They built their own administration, police units, naval fighters, and even a small air wing. Few rebel groups in the world had such an organized structure. The Tigers became known for their deadly tactics. They carried out bombings, assassinations, and attacks on civilian areas. One of the most shocking incidents occurred in 1991 when a female member of the group assassinated former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi during an election rally. The civil war between the Sri Lankan government and the Tigers lasted almost 3 decades. It was filled with battles that destroyed villages, displaced families, and caused deep suffering across the island. Many estimates say that at least 100,000 people died during the conflict, and some believe the true number is even higher. Both sides were accused of serious human rights abuses, including attacks that harmed civilians and forced relocations. By the mid-2000s, the Sri Lankan military began gaining strong momentum. They pushed into areas controlled by the Tigers and slowly captured key territories. In 2009, the war reached its final stage. Government forces defeated the Tigers, and their leader was killed. The organization collapsed soon after. The end of the civil war did not immediately heal the pain left behind. Families continued searching for missing relatives. Communities struggled to rebuild their homes and trust. Even today, the conflict is remembered as one of the most destructive wars in South Asia. Hamas is a Palestinian Islamist organization that was founded in 1987 during the First Intifada. It emerged from the Muslim Brotherhood in Gaza with the goal of establishing an Islamic state across historic Palestine. Hamas operates both as a political party and as a militant group, combining governance, social services, and armed activities under a single structure. Hamas has carried out numerous attacks against Israel, including bombings, rocket attacks, and armed assaults. During the Second Intifada between 2000 and 2005, Hamas carried out multiple bombings in cities such as Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa, killing hundreds of civilians. After seizing control of Gaza in 2007, the organization became involved in repeated large-scale conflicts with Israel. Notable escalations occurred in 2008 to 2009, 2012, 2014, and more recently in 2023, resulting in thousands of deaths, including civilians on both sides. Hamas funds its operations through donations, taxation in Gaza, and regional state support. Its military and political duality allows it to maintain governance functions while continuing armed resistance. Estimates suggest that Hamas has been responsible for the deaths of several thousand people since its formation, both directly through attacks and indirectly through military escalations. Hamas is designated a terror organization by countries including the United States, the European Union, and Israel. Its political control in Gaza, however, enables it to provide social services, education, and welfare programs. This combination of social governance and militancy allows Hamas to maintain significant influence over the Palestinian population. Al-Qaeda is a transnational Islamist extremist group founded in 1988 by Osama bin Laden and other jihadists. Its core goal is to remove Western influence from Muslim-majority countries and establish a global Islamic state. Al-Qaeda operates as a network rather than a centralized organization, providing training, financing, and support to affiliated groups worldwide. The group is infamous for launching major attacks on civilian and military targets. The most well-known attack was the September 11, 2001 attacks in the United States, where hijacked planes struck the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, killing nearly 3,000 people. Prior to that, Al-Qaeda carried out the 1998 bombings of US embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, killing over 200 people, and the 2000 attack of the USS Cole in Yemen, killing 17 American sailors. Its ideology has inspired affiliates in countries across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, extending its reach and influence. Al-Qaeda's decentralized structure allows affiliates to operate independently while following the group's overarching jihadist principles. Over time, US-led military campaigns, drone strikes, and counter-terror measures weakened the group, including the killing of Osama bin Laden in 2011. Despite this, Al-Qaeda remains active through branches such as Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, North Africa, and the Indian subcontinent. The Armed Islamic Group of Algeria, or GIA, emerged in 1992 during the Algerian Civil War. Its main objective was to overthrow the Algerian government and replace it with an Islamic state. The GIA became infamous for targeting civilians, government officials, and intellectuals to intimidate the population and destabilize the state. During the 1990s, the GIA carried out brutal attacks, including massacres of villages and targeted killings. One of the most notorious campaigns occurred in 1997 when entire villages were attacked and hundreds of people were killed, including women and children. The group frequently used bombings, assassinations, and public executions to spread fear. At its peak, the GIA was responsible for between 10,000 and 15,000 deaths, making it one of the deadliest insurgent organizations in North Africa. Internal divisions and pressure from the Algerian military weakened the GIA in the late 1990s. Many former members later joined other jihadist networks in the region, continuing low-level operations. Despite its decline, the GIA left a major impact on Algeria, creating widespread trauma and destabilizing communities. Boko Haram is a jihadist group founded in 2002 in northeastern Nigeria. Its main goal is to establish an Islamic State in Nigeria and reject Western education and influence, which it views as corrupting. The group has expanded operations into neighboring countries including Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. Boko Haram is infamous for large-scale attacks, kidnappings, and village raids. In 2014, the group kidnapped 276 schoolgirls in Chibok, sparking international outrage and the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. The insurgency has killed tens of thousands of people and displaced millions. Boko Haram has destroyed villages, targeted civilians, and attacked government and military installations. In 2016, Boko Haram split into factions, with one becoming Islamic State West Africa Province. The group continues to carry out deadly attacks, including bombings in urban areas, mass shootings, and abductions. The Nigerian military, along with regional forces, has launched ongoing operations to counter the insurgency, but Boko Haram remains a persistent threat. In the early 2000s, Somalia was struggling with civil war, weak government, and powerful warlords for many years. In the middle of this chaos, a group of hardline fighters formed Al-Shabaab in 2006. At first, they grew out of the Islamic Courts Union. This was a group that wanted to bring order to Somalia using Islamic law. When the Islamic Courts Union was defeated by outside forces, the younger and more extreme fighters broke away. These fighters became Al-Shabaab, and they slowly grew into one of the most violent groups in East Africa. Al-Shabaab became known for shocking attacks that targeted both Somalis and foreigners. One of their most infamous attacks took place in 2010 in Uganda. During the World Cup final, bombers entered crowded places in Kampala and killed more than 70 people. Another major attack came in 2013 when gunmen and bombers stormed the Westgate shopping mall in Kenya. The attack lasted several hours and killed more than 60 people. In 2015, the group carried out an attack on Garissa University College in Kenya. They separated students based on religion and killed 148 people. It was one of the deadliest terror attacks in Kenya's history. Today, Al-Shabaab controls some rural parts of Somalia, but is constantly pressured by Somali forces and African Union troops. The group has killed thousands of people over the years. They keep funding their operations through extortion, illegal taxes, and smuggling. Their main goal is to remove the Somali government and create a strict Islamic State. The group also wants to punish countries like Kenya and Uganda that send troops to fight them. Even though they have lost territory, Al-Shabaab remains dangerous. They focus more on quick attacks and bombings. Their actions continue to affect millions of people in Somalia and the surrounding region. The Pakistani Taliban, also known as TTP, began in 2007. Their formation was a direct result of rising tension in Pakistan's tribal regions, along the border with Afghanistan. Many fighters there had supported the Taliban in Afghanistan and did not want the Pakistani government to work with the United States. When Pakistan placed more pressure on these fighters, the different local groups joined together under one banner. That banner became the Pakistani Taliban, and it united dozens of small factions that shared the same violent beliefs. The TTP quickly became famous for brutal and unforgettable attacks. One of the earliest and deadliest strikes happened in 2007 with the bombing of a political rally in Rawalpindi. They continued their campaign by targeting government buildings, military bases, and innocent civilians. Their most heartbreaking attack took place in December 2014 at the Army Public School in Peshawar. Gunmen entered the school and moved from room to room. They killed more than 140 people, most of them children. This attack shocked the world and led Pakistan to begin a full-scale military campaign to fight the TTP. Even though Pakistan's military pushed them out of many strongholds, the group survived by moving into remote mountain areas and crossing into Afghanistan. When the Taliban regained power in Afghanistan in 2021, the TTP found more breathing room and began increasing its activity again. They started carrying out more attacks in Pakistan, especially in the northwest regions. The TTP's main goal is to force Pakistan to establish a strict system of Islamic law. They also want to punish the Pakistani state for fighting against them. Their violent acts continue to affect daily life in many northern parts of the country. Despite losses in leadership and territory, the group remains active and dangerous. The Al-Nusra Front was formed in 2012 during the early years of the Syrian civil war. At the time, Syria was breaking apart as protests turned into a violent and complex conflict. Many rebel groups appeared, but Al-Nusra stood out because it was openly connected to Al-Qaeda. They presented themselves as a disciplined force that wanted to topple the Syrian government and replace it with an Islamic system. Their name spread quickly because they were well trained and better organized than many other rebel groups. The Al-Nusra Front became known for deadly bombings, prize raids, and attacks that targeted both soldiers and civilians. In 2012 and 2013, the group carried out many bombings in Damascus and Aleppo. One of their most destructive acts took place in May 2012, when 2 bombs exploded near a military intelligence building in the capital. More than 50 people were killed and hundreds were injured. As the war went on, Al-Nusra carried out raids on Syrian military bases, capturing weapons and territory. Because of heavy pressure from outside forces, the group tried to change its image in 2016. They announced a new name, Jabhat Fateh al-Sham, and said they no longer had direct ties to Al-Qaeda. Most experts believe this was only an attempt to look more acceptable to other nations. Their main goals and their leadership remain the same. The Al-Nusra Front and its later forms have been responsible for the deaths of thousands of people during the Syrian war. Their actions made the conflict more violent and long-lasting. Even though they lost much of their territory, they still exist in smaller factions that continue to influence parts of northern Syria. ISIS, also known as the Islamic State, began in 2013 after breaking away from Al-Qaeda in Iraq. The group's goal was to create a powerful state that followed a harsh version of Islamic law. When the war in Syria spread and the Iraqi government weakened, ISIS used the chaos to grow at an unbelievable speed. By 2014, they seized major cities, including Mosul in Iraq and Raqqa in Syria. They declared these places part of their new caliphate, which was a term they used to describe a government ruled by their leader. ISIS became one of the most feared groups in modern history because of its brutal actions. They killed thousands of civilians in areas they controlled. They destroyed churches, mosques, and historical sites. They also forced entire communities to flee their homes. One of their most horrific crimes was the massacre of Yazidi people in 2014, and many women and girls were taken captive and abused. The group carried out major attacks around the world. In 2015, ISIS fighters struck Paris. They attacked a concert hall, restaurants, and a stadium, killing more than 130 people. That same year, they carried out bombings in Beirut and Ankara. ISIS bombed a Russian passenger jet over Egypt, killing everyone on board. In 2016, they attacked the Brussels airport and metro system. These attacks created fear across Europe and changed airport and travel security forever. By 2017, an international coalition led by the United States began pushing ISIS back. Iraqi and Kurdish forces recaptured Mosul. Syrian forces retook Raqqa. Slowly, ISIS lost all of its land. In 2019, they lost their final stronghold in Syria. Even though their territory collapsed, ISIS did not fully disappear. Small cells still operate in Iraq, Syria, and parts of Africa and Asia. They attack security forces in villages whenever possible. Experts say ISIS has been responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people. The group is weaker today, but the world still watches them closely. Their history shows how fast violent groups can grow when a region is unstable, and how much harm they can cause in a short time. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you learned something, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the terror organizations I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2 or more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.